Good day. My name is Attorney Osmond Johnson, and I act as the counsel and representative for the Stellar Energy Group. As some of you may be aware, we have been engaged in legal battle with the Bahamas government for several years now, as it concerns the execution of a letter of intent by the then Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Public Works, the Honourable Mr Renward Wells, who is now, as you all know, a member of the present F&M cabinet. We contend that the issues raised by the said case strike at the very heart of our country's reputation as a viable investment option in the region. Now more than ever before, our country desperately requires foreign direct investment in order to address some of the plaguing structural issues which have faced our economy and which have held back not only the economic performance of the country, but also the livelihoods of many of our citizens. We also face, as you know, a growing environmental problem in the capital as it concerns the landfill site, which has still not been addressed by the present F&M administration. And I think it brings into context the issues that we raise in the case. To bring everyone's attention to the matters at hand, the challenge itself concerns what we contend to be the breach of a contractual undertaking by the Bahamas government to the clients which I represent, vis-a-vis the provision of a waste-to-energy plant. The intention was to essentially address the landfill by converting the human waste and detritus into a low-cost source of electricity and to provide the same to the residents of New Providence. That has unfortunately not been able to proceed. And the reason why we contend is because of a failure by our own government to honor its contractual obligations to the Stellar Energy Group, notwithstanding high-level communications and negotiations, notwithstanding numerous tasks which were carried out further to the due diligence process that was conducted between my clients and the government. And the sad fact is that it is we, the Bahamian public, who have paid the price for what is essentially a failure on the part of our government to maintain transparency and best practices regarding international investors. We cannot continue in this way. We cannot continue to allow for the livelihoods of our population to be up for grabs, as it were, to be gambled in such a frivolous fashion, simply due to what is an obvious series of acts which we contend comprise malfeasance on the part of the Bahamas government, and again, a failure to carry out its obligations further to a contractual agreement. No alternatives or viable alternatives have been provided to date to address the waste issue in New Providence. As many of you are fully aware, we have also faced energy supply issues over the past couple of years. Indeed, sometimes the situation became so challenging that the capital faced daily power cuts. And I can attest to that because unfortunately I was obliged to live through many of those events, and it draws into focus really the issues at hand. We not only have an obligation to our children to clean up our environment, but we also have an obligation to the country, and I think that the government indeed has an obligation to provide viable sources of renewable energy to the people. We cannot do that if we are not prepared to adhere to what are clearly recognized international best practices as it concerns the dealings between national governments and prospective investors. We likewise cannot maintain that progress unless we are willing to oblige ourselves to honor contractual undertakings that we give. The Bahamas cannot afford to have a reputation as a country in which agreements which are reached with the national government are not adhered to and or recognized. It would be too detrimental to our position and to our future viability as an investment option. And so the challenge that we have raised continues, and it will continue until we bring fruition to these issues. Thank you.